Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. First of all, I mean, it would be, you know, spot on to congratulate you on your 80th birthday as you mark 80 years on Terra Firma. First of all, how does it feel turning 80?
I feel good, but continue to be very grateful to God for allowing us to see this day. And I think I'm grateful to God.
Great. And looking back 80 years, your childhood, growing up, joining the military, being involved in the Nigerian Civil War, being involved at every level of governance in Nigeria in the last 50 years or more. What are the things that stand out for you looking back?
Stand out for me?
Yes. What are the memories? Any memories, fond memories, some things that you look back and say, shouldn't have done that. Oh, I'm happy about that.
No, I think one thing that if I look back, I keep on saying I wished my parents were alive to see such a level of my development. I lost them when I was in my formative years. By the time I was 14, I lost the two parents. And every day it comes to me that I wished one of them or both of them were alive when I became a military officer.
Did losing them at a young age, at 14, did it affect you in any way? Did it form your worldview? Did it impact on how you relate to people, and all of that? How did their passing on at such an early age affect you?
Yeah, I used to hear them talking. They were always wishing me well. They were confident that I will one day grow up to be somebody within the community. And as God will have it, they didn't get to see me grow up within the community.
Of course, you've turned out to be more than
more than their expectations.
More than their expectations, you would say. Let's talk about, you can't talk about the history of Nigeria without, talking about the role that you have played. All the way back to 1966 when the first coup, happened. And then, of course, you had to, intervene at some level. In 1976, you quashed the coup, against the late Muritala Muhammad, and all of, iconic moments, iconic periods. Talk to us about that fight that you had to fight to keep Nigeria one, and the fact that today, Nigeria is still struggling with the issue of unity.
Well, I think at that time, don't forget, the first problem started in 1966. Nigeria was 6 years old as an independent country. We were just struggling. We were trying to be a nation. We haven't fully become, how do I call it? We are just a group of people in an environment, geographical environment called Nigeria. But we were not, I didn't believe we built a nation. And that is the major problem. That is why there were instability within the country. Then this culminated into a civil war. And all developing countries, I think, had to go through that process. I was quite aware of this and convinced that this is all developing countries, especially in Africa. They had to go through this, Africa, Latin America, and so on and so forth. So we are not an exception.
So you think the Civil War was not inevitable in your
No,
assessment?
if you watch, before the Civil War, we had a lot of problems. We had instability in the government, in the system. We had Tea riots. We had Operation Wetier. We had a lot of stability operations in the country. This culminated into the civil war. So it didn't come to us as a surprise.
And let me back up just a little, and then we'll talk about why Nigeria is still struggling with, gelling together as one nation, where nobody's thinking, I'm Hausa, I'm Fulani, I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba, Let's talk about your role in the military, and then, of course, the role of the military in governance over the years until 1999.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people argue that the incursion of the military into, governance set Nigeria back decades, if not centuries. What's your thought on that? Do you think the military coming in to power was a great setback for Nigeria?
Well, I saw the military's intervention as part of developing process in a developing country like Nigeria. I can take you back to, say, the whole continent of Africa. Sometimes in 1952, military started intervening in governance in Africa. 52 was Egypt. And then from Egypt, this started going through to other countries. And it was a vow then to stage a coup in a lot of these countries. And we couldn't be an exception. We had officers who were trained, officers who were highly educated, and following the events that were happening in other countries. So it's not unusual to develop people who have this sort of kind thinking.
Mentality.
That's right. And I think we came in at the time that these things are happening throughout the world.
Where they were acceptable.
Yeah.
Let me go to that question that I need to ask you. Fundamentally, Nigeria is still struggling to be a nation. What do you think is wrong at the base that the Fulani man doesn't seem to have a sense of belonging, the Igbo man doesn't, the Yoruba doesn't, everybody's thinking about their own part of the country? What do you think is fundamentally responsible for that?
On the contrary, I think, again, if you look back, if you take a place like Baga, up in the northeast, the Igbo man, the Yoruba man travels up to Baga for trading. He lived very comfortable. He lived very well with the people around there. They do their normal trading and so on. Even politically, in Enugu, in the 50s, you had a Hausa man who was a mayor. If you go to Lagos, the same thing, you have Yorubas, Igbos, who are holding political appointments at local levels and live very well with the people. I think we, becoming elites, we did not succeed in imbibing that culture for the country. So we rather live with the culture that the European handed over to us. Distinct northern Nigeria, eastern Nigeria, western Nigeria, and so on, until such time when we had middle belt, what the name of this, in 1963, Midwest.
Yes, the Midwest region.
So, but we did not mold ourselves as nation. So I feel very strongly that was what happened. The political elites then that were being developed, they ran back to their cocoon and accept that, oh yes, I have to be an able man to do this or that. And till today, unfortunately, the political class are not really going into this very seriously and say, no, how do we build a nation?
And that's a question I'd like to ask you. How do you think
I think
can build that
we have to rewrite the narrative. We have to rewrite the narrative.
How?
Okay. You are now arguing amongst yourselves on how to build political parties, for example. We knew it was doable because we did it. We had political parties that were being led by people who were from other parts of the country. And they blended very well. They talked to people, they had the same common vision about this country, what they wanted the country to be. And I give you an example. I believe in free market economy. So anybody who will come to talk, not to talk about free market economy, I wouldn't talk with him, because we don't have core values in the country. These are core values beyond which nobody is going to allow you to do anything. And the politicians, the elites, all, I think, we have to blame in this.
So, Your Excellency, would you say then, based on what you have just said, that the tyranny of the elite is what has contributed, for example, to the security situation that Nigeria finds itself in right now? There's banditry, kidnapping, there's terrorism in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, secessionist sentiments in the southeast, even in the southwest, secessionist sentiments, banditry also, kidnapping all across the country. What do you think is a fundamental problem, and what is the way out of this vicious cycle of insecurity?
I think the problem is leadership. There is a disconnect between the leadership and the followership. There is a disconnect. If there is no disconnect, when people relate with each other at various leadership levels and talk about the community, about the state, about the federation, then we wouldn't have problem whatsoever. We don't have core values in the country that everybody depends all the time. You defend that core value. You are a Nigerian, this is what you believe in, and anything short of that, you are not going to be, it is not going to be acceptable. I give you, when we were in the military, we talked about settled issues about Nigeria. The unity of Nigeria, as far as we were concerned, was a settled issue. Presidentialism was a settled issue. Market economy, free market, was not socialism, was a settled issue. The federation also is a settled issue. Nobody will come and say, Nigeria is no longer a federation or something.
When you say settled issue, are you saying in another way that it's non-negotiable? Because that seems to have, that's the refrain. But some argue that it should be negotiable.
No.
That we should sit down at the table. If we decide to be one, then we stay one. If we still want to go our separate ways, why not?
No, we decided to be one. How many years ago? About 51 years ago. And we have been in that position for the last 51 years. Why should we keep on repeating? Let's sit down. You can have not less than 100 conferences in this country that Nigerians themselves sat down and talked about on how to remain one, how to work with the federating units in the country, how to operate locally, and so on and so forth. I think there are issues that we shouldn't be talking about them now, but rather...
What should we be talking about now?
We should be talking about how to encourage, how to strengthen what we have agreed in the last. If you agree we are going to be united Nigeria since 51 years ago, we should now be talking on how to strengthen that unity. If we are going to have a federating unit, we should now be talking about how we want to see our federation. If we want to talk about the local governments, whether they should have free fund, whether they should govern themselves, we should tell them, or we should be talking on how this could be achieved.
Do you think something similar to the Politburo, which you set up, to give Nigerians the opportunity to explore some of the issues you're talking about? Do you think
right.
Nigeria needs something similar? We've had the 2014 National Conference and so many talk shops
And
that
okay,
haven't not left
I'm glad
anywhere.
you used the word talk shop. That's what it is. You went to the shop, you talked, you came back home, abandoned it. And then somebody says, no, we need that conference. Again, it has been done. Political Bureau has laid down everything. But I think the tyranny of the elites is what is the main problem. This is
So what's the way out?
the way out. When I told you leadership, the leaders should understand Nigeria and Nigerians. So anybody who wants a position of leadership, you must be a person who will be able to use your intellect for the benefit. There are things you believe, either in Niger or whatever, and I want to lead the state. Fine. This is, if you talk about, this is an agricultural state, agrarian state. My thought will be how to take advantage of that God-given situation
Yes.
to better the well-being of the people.
Do you think it's just a lack of understanding of Nigeria and Nigerians that's missing within the leadership, or just outright lack of love and care for Nigeria and Nigerians? Isn't that what, is possibly missing?
From my experience,
Yes.
Nigerians are very resilient people, very, very fertile-minded people. So if you want to lead them, you have to take a lot of things into consideration. They are very good. They are very resilient. They are very industrious. So how do I put all this together to achieve a common objective?
Is that where restructuring, for example, comes in? Because a lot of people say, in fact, some have blamed you as part of the problem in terms of the structure of the present, of the nation presently. You created 11 states. If I'm wrong, please correct me. 11 states during your time as military president. And some say it further alienated the leadership from the followership, the leaders from the people. And you've been quoted as saying that the time to restructure Nigeria is now. If we say restructuring is the way to go, what manner of restructuring are we talking about? Should it be regionalism or what?
No, it's amazingly interesting. If you check from my findings, restructuring means different thing to different people in this country. We don't have a common interpretation. That's the first basic problem that we are going to have. What does it mean? We haven't defined it. The way I see it is what we started.
Which is?
Give the people at the lowest level to the highest level opportunity to participate on how they are governed or in governance. If I will tell you a story, we had Reverend Adasu, may he rest in peace. He had, I had an argument with him. He was a governor in Benue. One of the local governments was I think NRC. He was SDP. And he decided he's going to cut his, he's going to stop his funding for the local government. This information got to me, and I called him. He's a very good friend of mine. So I said, Reverend, come, let's talk. We sat down, I said, why did you stop the local government acts with this money? He said, no, because he's not in the same party.
Wow.
I said, look, this man went around the local government, he campaigned, he told people, vote for me, I will provide this for you. And people accepted that quite
Based
easily.
on that.
Pledge on that. It's on that basis they voted for him. So why don't you give him his money? You hold him responsible. You promise them A, B, C, D. What have you achieved? Because you are on top, you should be able to. They are your people. You are their governor. No matter at that place, you have different political beliefs.
Yes.
He looked at me, he said, I should be a politician. I said, no, Reverend. I would rather be a reverend. As I said, we are very good friends. But this is the argument. I argued with a lot of my friends. I believe, for example, that I believe in resource control.
Okay.
But mention it to a lot of people in this country, somebody will cut your head. Why are you talking?
Why don't they want resource control? What do you think is responsible for that?
I think it is this belief that this is our own God-given thing in our own environment. I want my people to benefit from this. This is our own area. It's all this possessing thing.
Let me explore that issue of local government that you just talked about. The current president, President Muhammadu Buhari, did sign Order 10, Executive Order 10. The governors frowned against it. I recall that during your term, you actually increased the allocation from 10% to 20%, if my memory serves me well. What are your thoughts on that? Don't you think governors at their level really should take a lot of responsibility for the way the local government situation is now?
No, this is where your restructuring comes in. When at the state level, I want to see a situation where the governor is there. The Constitution defines his areas of responsibility. It defines his powers. So at the local government level, anything to do with governance, the state governor doesn't have to. But if it comes to something bigger, like during some disasters or whatever, the state can come in to help the local government and that sort of thing. And the laws are there. I saw somebody was talking about the concurrent list and exclusive list.
Yes.
That is something along that line. I am not a lawyer. I have no idea whatsoever, but I think you should give people more within their capability, give them more control over their affairs, over their resources.
Would you say then, would you connect the structure of the polity to the dismal state that the Nigerian economy actually finds itself? I recall under your 8-year administration, when you just came in, you introduced SAP. And one of the objectives of SAP, of course, was to look for ways of diversifying the Nigerian economy away from overdependency on oil, bring about inclusiveness, bring in more people. You liberalize the economy. Nigeria is still grappling with the economy, struggling to keep the dollar stable, for example, which was, of course, one of the things you wanted to do with SAP, stabilize Forex. We're still where we were when you were in government. What do you think is responsible for that? And how can Nigeria fix the economy beyond this, what some would describe as panic mode?
Yeah, that's the right word, I think, panic mode. I think it's the consistency in the policy. We ought to be able to say, yes, this is the right thing to do, and keep it going, not to be dissuaded by other people's opinion. If you believe it's the right thing, pursue it, but keep on explaining it to the people also. Or we insist in this because of this. Maybe one day they will get fed up and say, go ahead and do it, or become even more informed.
What do you make of the fact that Nigeria imports a huge percentage of petroleum products? The refineries, 4 refineries, continue to be moribund. What do you make of that? Can we really extricate ourselves from oil if we don't fix the fundamentals at that level?
I believe the Nigerians are very, very industrious. They are very resourceful people. There is nothing they cannot be able to do, and they will do it well. So I am confident they can get out of this inconsistency in policies and the rest of it.
What do you make of this administration's handling of the economy so far?
The fact that it hasn't collapsed. So I think they are trying to keep it moving.
They're trying to keep it moving.
Yeah.
What are the things, the indices that you would say are the things they're putting in place to actually move the economy forward?
I think you need to mobilize the people towards achieving this common objective. You should convince them, or you should prove to them they can do it. The resources are there. You are there to provide the leadership and to support them.
Are you concerned that the Naira, side by side the dollar, is about 550 presently as we speak? What does that say to you?
It says a lot. But I think we can address it.
How?
Production. Once people can produce a lot of things that they can easily sell, either export or within the country, I think it will stabilize.
But how can that production come about? I mean, you have an unemployment rate of about 33%. You have a huge youth population. Almost 70% of the Nigerian population is made up of the youth. And yet Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world.
There is too much control in the way the economy is being run. We should open it further.
Okay.
If we do that and tap the God-given talent of the Nigerian, I think we will go far.
Let's back up a bit. Back to the issue of security. I'm not sure you have helped us understand how we can, pull out of the jaws of terrorism, banditry, and all of that. What would be your recommendation? Would it be in terms of, is there a need to train the military? Is the military overwhelmed? And all of that. And some people would even argue that the involvement of the military...
Not overwhelmed, but maybe overstretched.
Okay.
The military, I believe, has the wherewithal to change, to fight this banditry and bring the system back. But I think the problem is they are doing too much. They are overstretched, and subsequently, because of the space they have to occupy, they have fairly obsolete equipment. But one of the most important things, which we shouldn't lose sight of, the military must believe in what they are fighting for. They must be provided with the wherewithal to meet up that objective for the country. And then he must be well trained and well led And
do you think leadership is what's missing at that level?
Is what?
In the military? Is that what is missing?
I think they should do more. From my experience, they should do more.
Right, Your Excellency, let's talk about Nigeria's democracy. I'm not too sure that, much has been said about the role you played in midwifing this Fourth Republic. I recall in 1999, before the elections, before democracy, you were at the forefront of getting now former President Olusegun Obasanjo to, take over the helm of affairs. Why was that necessary at the time? And would you say that you're impressed so far with the democratic trajectory that Nigeria finds itself in right now?
If there is, one Nigerian who passionately believes in Nigeria, it is Olusegun Obasanjo. I will give that to him. He believes very strongly in this country. So it's easy for us to conclude that the person who will take over must have those core beliefs, believes in the oneness of Nigeria and believes in its stability for the future development of the country. So that is the one reason why we sold him to Nigerians. Then he has the experience. He has seen it all, took part in the war of keeping the country one, and led the country for political engineering and development.
But some would say that it was an attempt to assuage certain sections of the country because of the events of the immediate past at the time.
Well, I think...
And the way of the class of 63, to which you belong, to continue to have a hold or grip on Nigeria.
No, I think what was happening, we always believe the person who should run the country must have the following antecedents. If he doesn't believe in Nigeria, we wouldn't look for him at all, because we wanted a Nigeria, and this is what we kept on saying. Even if it is democratically elected or militarily imposed, he must have that core belief, belief in the country, and experiences over the years in leadership, in public service, and the rest of them.
And how many administrations since then? Are you impressed with our democracy so far? Is it delivering? And I'd also like to know what role you're playing with the PDP. I mean, the PDP held on to power for 16 years. You're a founding father of the PDP. And many are saying with this administration, Nigeria seems to be moving towards a one-party state. Talk to us about that.
But I know the Nigerians will not allow that to happen. They will make so much noise that whoever will attempt to do that will not do it. This is the good thing about this country. They will talk, they will demonstrate, they will engage you in all sorts of things so as not to do the wrong thing.
Are you still in partisan politics? Are you still very involved in the PDP as an opposition party?
No.
Why is that?
I'm an older statesman now.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you totally. But we cannot talk about Nigeria's politics without mentioning the fact that when you were, president, military president, you came up with two political parties, the SDP and the NRC.
That's right.
And
I still maintain it the best thing for the country.
Where we are now, it seems it's still, that's what it is. Organically, though, Nigeria has become a two-party state. But like I mentioned earlier, it's tilting towards a one-party state. What was it that you saw that made you create two parties at a time?
Because we used the experiences we had. We set up a committee to tell us why things went wrong. Democratically, the political parties were not coming up fine. And it was very revealing. Look, if you look at the First Republic, we found that up to after the Second Republic, everybody in this country tend to gravitate towards two-party system. You had ABGA, you had NNA, you had all sorts of things. There were a lot of other parties, but we all gravitated towards two-party. So we